introducing John Morgan. And before I do want to say, John, that you're, Julia Diaz, fantastic lady. Please tell her, great job. Stayed on top of things and was awesome. And so everybody's seen John's background is on the little flyer. And I have to say this, I've lived here in Lake Mary for about 7 years, came down to Nassau County, Jacksonville. This is extremely impressive. And I mean it sincerely, all of us agree, because the John Morgan we see on television, who does a great job, best marketing programs in the world, in my opinion, the For the People concept, you don't know what's behind the curtain here. And there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff he does, Alton and his wife, the family, it's fantastic. So I'm just going to hit a few key points. I summarized it in bullet form because I want to turn this over to John. He's going to talk about anything he wants to talk about. And then we're going to have some good questions and some good answers. First of all, John was born in Lexington, Kentucky. I tried to find out when, but the records were sealed. I don't know how you did that, but then I managed to unseal them, and it said 1953. So you're a young man.
56.
56? Uh-oh, well, we're going to talk to Ms. Diaz. We're going to talk to Ms. Diaz. In 1971, you correct me if I miss anything, John moved his family to Orlando, 1971, ways back. I know you're going to have some fun with this. You attended and graduated from UF, University of Florida. Anybody going to heckle that one? He finished law school also at UF's College of Law in 1983. He founded Morgan & Morgan in 1988. Amazing. With incredible drive and commitment to clients, has grown the company now over 800 lawyers. Maybe more. 1,000 lawyers. Coverage in all 50 states, handling national mass torts, class actions, labor and employment disputes, civil rights, personal injury, medical malpractice, product liability, business litigation, and insurance disputes, all under the moniker of For the People. And John means just that, because that's who he is and what he is in his company, what it stands for. But you can see the depth and the breadth of what this company's doing. It's not just PI work, it's lots of other things going on. John goes around and lectures from time to time about law in the country, which is awesome. He's a member of the Florida Academy of Trial Lawyers and sits on the Board of Trustees at the University of Florida's Levin School of Law. John holds the prestigious Martindale-Hubbell AV rating for the highest standard. There's many lawyers in this group here, both past and present and future, and has the highest standards of ethics and professionalism as selected by a group of his peers. Awesome recognition. A lecturer, as well as 3 books he's written, published on various subjects of law and human interaction and building success in the field. John and his wife Ultima are large supporters of the Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida, and with a major financial donation, opened the Morgan & Morgan Hunger Relief Center with a new 100,000 square foot facility filled with freezers, coolers, and storage infrastructure. And with that, I do want to give it up. We're going to give it up for that real quick. Wow. In 2013, John campaigned vigorously to legalize medical marijuana in Florida. It ended up on the ballot in 2016 and became law in 2019. He tirelessly worked on getting the $15 an hour minimum wage passed and has helped millions of low-income Floridians. In conclusion of this bio, fantastic bio, his proudest experience is raising his 4 children and Ultima, his beautiful wife, after 39 years of marriage and watching now 5 grandchildren grow up, making him a proud papa. It's with great pleasure that we introduce John Morgan.
I'm happy to be here. I'm from Lake Mary, so I didn't have to come far. I settled a big case in 1988, and I built a house in Heathrow. And then I built another house in Heathrow, had a sinkhole in Heathrow. The house was totaled. Chris Dorworth lives in it now. I might sink again with that. And then I built a house across the way after we had a sinkhole, and we live in Heathrow Woods. And but before I get going, and before you get going, I want to make sure that the message that you receive loud and clear from me today is one that you take with you for the rest of your life, so I'm going to tell it, say it early, and it goes like this. If you've been injured in an automobile or on the job, or get food poisoning here today, call for the people. Morgan, I'm your man. I got into the business literally by an accident. And what happened was, when I was a sophomore at the University of Florida, I got a terrible phone call from my dad that my brother Tim had been paralyzed in a diving accident at Walt Disney World. We were very poor people. We were not sophisticated. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. Disney, in my opinion, mistreated my brother Tim. And I was the oldest and sort of in charge, even though I was 19. And then I became enraged. I didn't know what a personal injury lawyer was, but I knew what I was going to do after I got finished with Tim's deal. The doctor told me that Tim would never live to 30. I stood up and I said, "You're wrong." I walked out. Tim turned 63 on November 30th. He has a little girl and a great life. And so that's how I got into this business. Over time, people ask me, "Did you ever see this coming?" No, I really didn't see it coming. I just put one foot ahead of the other and just kept moving. And the next thing you know, you wake up and you're fat and gray-headed and 66 years old, and here you are. And so I did not have any grand plan when we got out of law school. I met my wife in law school. I went to clear my head one day. I went to Mass, which I didn't go to daily Mass, but it was a lucky dip. When I go to Mass, I look ahead of me, get communion, I see the greatest set of legs I've ever seen in my life. And then she turned around, and it turned out to be one of the most beautiful women I'd ever seen in my life. And I actually went up and asked her who she was and asked her out. And I tell people, I said, life is love. Who would have known that day it changed my life? And so we moved here and started. I only got a job doing personal injury at the law school, but that's all I've ever wanted to do, and that's all I've ever done. We now are all over the country. We're in New York and Boston and Philadelphia and D.C. and St. Louis and every city in the South and Los Angeles and so forth and so on. And it's been an unbelievable ride. And so people always ask me, they said, how did you have this vision? I did not have this vision. I wish I had this vision, because then I could sell it and tell all you all how to do it. But what I will tell you about vision is this. The first thing that people make a great mistake in business is they make a decision that it's too late to do something. We all have excuses for why we don't want to do the next thing or take the next chance. I'm too old, I'm too tired, I'm too whatever. And we don't do what our mind is telling us to do. And so we get stuck. I think the biggest excuse that happens is when people say, it's too late. I'm 40, 35, I'm 45. And what I would tell you all today is this, that obviously the best time to plant a tree was 20, 15, 10, 5 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is today. So I don't know what your vision is in life or love or family, but I want to talk briefly about vision. Vision, we hear it all the time. He's a visionary. He had a vision. And visionary is a word that I think is overused, and I'm going to tell you why. There are visionaries. Bill Gates is a visionary, and Elon Musk is a visionary, and so forth and so on. But the real truth is, there is a difference between a visionary and a vision maker. 99% of visionaries never made their vision happen. Never were vision makers. They had the idea, but they didn't have whatever to complete it. And then they go through life wondering, why didn't I do that? I remember one time we got married down here at Annunciation. Father Caverly married us. Later, I led the fund drive. He picked me to raise the money. We built the new church and the new school down here in Altamont. And all my children were baptized there and everything happened down there. So we'd go to Mass on Sunday, and then we'd go to IHOP or Denny's or something after my 4 kids. I had kids so fast, and here's why. My wife is a very devout Catholic. I'm a Catholic, but I'm not a very devout Catholic. She believed in the rhythm method. The rhythm method does not work when you mix the rhythm method and Jack Daniels. You just power right through. So I started having kids. Boom, 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 boom. Like, I didn't take a nap for 6 years until I took it in my own hands. Got rid of that possibility. I told people back then, they said, "You're having kids." I said, "Listen, I'm so damn potent. If I piss on a rock, it'll be growing potatoes in there." But I had these kids, and we went to Denny's, for breakfast, and the crayons were always rolling off of the table. And I spent half the time on the floor, down under the table at Denny's, grabbing the effing crayons. And I told Olsen, I said, what we need to do is we need to build a crayon that doesn't roll. And she's like, okay. We're not in the crayon business. One day we go to Denny's, and we sit down, they give us the coloring papers, and there's these 5-edged crayons that don't roll. And I said to her, out of the earshot of the children, fuck, that's my idea. That's my vision. I came up with that. And I did, but I didn't make the vision happen. And that happens to all of us, and I guarantee you each one of you have a crayon story. And think how sickening it is when you sit down and you see that crayon, or you see that George Foreman grill. I don't know anybody buys that shit, but these things that we have, and we don't take action. We don't implement and execute on our vision. There are visionaries everywhere, but there are very few vision makers. And what I want to talk just a minute about today, so that we don't go too long on this topic, is with vision making, there is a lot of problems on the way to getting your vision done. There are what I call vision blockers. There's vision blockers that stop us from living our dream. Walt Disney, I worked at Disney as a magician years ago when I was a kid. When I did magic in the parks and I did magic in the hotels. And there was a thing on Main Street that Walt did, this picture of Walt holding Mickey's hand. Said, "Dream and do it." You all probably seen that when you walk down the street on Main Street. But most people dream it and don't do it. And think of what happens when you get to the end and you're thinking, what if? What if I had done it? These vision blockers come in all shapes and sizes. Our friends are different. There's friends that aren't really friends in certain way. There are friends that really would rather you not do as well as you want to do. There are friends and family that would rather a total stranger win the lottery than you. It doesn't make sense. And when you start to tell them what you're going to do, they will give you 1,000 reasons why not to do it. The main reason they're telling you that is they don't have the guts to do it. And because they can't, they don't want you to. And those friends, those vision blockers, can stop you dead in your tracks. A spouse can be a vision blocker. We're secure. We're happy. Why are we going to take this incredible risk? And that stops you dead in your tracks. Jessica's husband had a secure position in a pretty decent firm, but he went out on his own to start his firm several years ago. Kind of, I don't know how old Jason was when he went out, but he planted that tree and went out to dream his dream and had a supportive wife, and he's now getting to live his best life and live his dream. But a lot of times the people close to us are the ones blocking our vision from coming true. And the final vision blocker and the ultimate vision blocker to all of this is you. That you, the fear, the worry, giving up the security, that your own internal whatever stops you from giving it a try. I'd rather try and fail than never try at all. Years ago, I had a vision that I thought there was a great idea about putting, when I take all those kids I taught that I made so fast, I used to take those kids to the science center, and the science centers were just shit to me. It's like, they just really run, they didn't do anything. I said, we gotta have a science center that kids want to go to. And I had a vision to build one of those. And what my vision was, is it should be interactive and fun and big, and that kids would love it and kids would want to go. I went all over the country looking at science centers, because if you're going to dream your dream, you just can't sit home. You got to go out and look around. I went to all science centers all over America, and then I came back and had an idea. I said, well, I got to build it. But I love P.T. Barnum. That's my hero in life, sort of. And I said, I got to build something fantastic. And the guy brought me a sketch of a building turned upside down, and I built it in 1997 out on International Drive. It's called Wonderworks. Now people thought, my God, you're going to build an upside down house and put all of this stuff in? It's a tremendous risk. People used to ask me, what are you going to do if Wonderworks fails? Because the building's turned upside down. Well, probably what I'm going to do is move my law offices out there. I'm going to bring some TV cameras out. I'm going to walk out and say, hey, I'm John Morgan at Morgan & Morgan. If you've been in an accident and found your life turned upside down, you always got to try to find a way to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. And so I built that Wonderworks, and I built other Wonderworks, and I built another attractions, Alcatraz East, and I built all sorts of attractions around America. And my attraction company now has an EBITDA of about $28 million. When I invest with people, people always ask me my vision of investment. I'm helping to build O-Town out here. I do shopping centers, and I do apartment complexes. That's not me. I invest with other people. People ask me, what do you decide? Who do you decide to invest with? I own a bunch of racehorses. I was at the Derby this week. When I go to the races, I never bet on the horse. I only bet on the jockey. I'm not so much, it's not that I want to be in the apartment business, I want to be in the apartment business with the best jockey. It's not that I want to be in the shopping center business. I just want to be in the best jockey. I invested, I see Bruce here, I just saw Bruce here. There's a bunch of guys, very smart guys from Marriott years ago, and they came to me and they said, well, let's build Marriott. They were Marriott executives, and they were phenomenal people, phenomenal operators. Dick Villardo and Ron Franklin. And I don't know, I don't know how many hotels we have, Bruce, at one time, like
32.
Yeah. And Bruce is our general manager up here at Lake Mary. Some of these hotels I've never been into, but I had a tremendous profit because I invested in Dick and Ron, and then Dick and Ron found people like Bruce. And so my advice to you is when you're getting ready to go out and invest or go into business, look at the jockey very closely. And so what I want to tell you today is that I promise you that some of you have an idea that's been burning for a long time, or in a position where you don't like the position, you want to go somewhere else, or you have an invention you want to create, or you want to move and start your own thing. You got to do it. Because the worst thing in the world, I believe, would be laying in bed now with all these ideas that I had and saying to myself, what if? What if? I didn't do the crayon, but I did a whole bunch of other things. And some of them have been, my newest venture is, I got in the attraction business. I saw Dave & Buster's, and I think Dave & Buster's does very well. But I built a new concept that I just opened up in Pigeon Forge, and it's called Flavor Town. And it's think Dave & Buster's with Guy Fieri, people say. So it's called. We took his brand, and we just opened up Flavor Town in Pigeon Forge. If you ever go up to Pigeon Forge, hit me up, and I'll get you tickets to all my attractions and stuff like that for free. But that's my newest vision. Because when those things get in my head, whether it's Flavor Town or WonderWorks or Morgan & Morgan or even Morgan & Morgan in Los Angeles, I can't get it out. It just stays with me. And around me as I'm doing it, there's a whole lot of vision blockers. They're telling me no. But my advice to you all today is when you go forward, at the end of the day, listen to yourself. Bet on yourself. Of all the investments I've ever made, it's always been the stuff I bet on me. Now, yeah, I have done those things with the food bank and things like that because I do believe firmly that when you're lucky enough to have some success, you have a responsibility to give it back. That South State Bank that
I'm here.
The only reason I said South State Bank was I saw her reading her messages and not paying attention to me, so I had to anyway, and I don't know if you know this, Maureen, in 1986, I started a bank in Kissimmee called First National Osceola, and then we started another one in Pasco, and I started another one. Case Center State Holding Company. That bank that you have is the bank I started. And I've never sold a share. I got all those shares still.
I know that.
Did you know that? So I had that vision to start a bank. And that bank that I started is now, how big are we now?
Close to 50 billion.
50 billion.
Yeah.
So I had that vision, I had that dream, and I had my kids out there. We had clowns and hot dogs out in Bermuda and Oak and Kissimmee. So what I would tell you today is listen to yourself, dream your dream. And I will finally tell you this. The one thing we're all looking for, everybody thinks you're looking for money. We're not looking for money. What we're really looking for is peace. The person that I admire the most is not the person who has the most money. It's the one I look at and go, why is she, why is he, why does he have that aura of peace? And I think I have figured it out, and I will tell you why I do these specific things. There's a prayer by Mother Teresa that I will leave you with today. And for you all as Rotarians, you're in the service, work, business, and it goes like this. A morning prayer, if you will, to you guys. The fruit of silence is prayer. The fruit of prayer is faith. The fruit of faith is love. The fruit of love is service to each other. And the fruit of service is peace. And so this morning, I would like to leave you by wishing you success, but more than success, God's everlasting peace for you and your family. Thank you for having me here today.
Okay, years ago I heard you speak and you talked about how you had a notebook, that you wrote all your goals down in a notebook. Do you still do that? And how often do you do that?
Every year, I go off alone. I spend a week by myself, and I kind of review the year, and I review what I want to do the next year. And at the end of that week, I write down on a piece of paper 3 things I want to accomplish next year. I believe this: people who have goals do, this is empirically proven, people who have goals do far better than people who don't have goals. People who have written goals do like 6 times, 7 times better than people who don't have written goals. So I write them down. I have goals. I write them down. I still have the notebook now since 1985. And as the year goes on, I go to the notebook and go, how am I coming on this goal? How am I coming on this goal? Every once in a while, one of the 3 goals is an incredible, impossible goal, which I call the BHAG. Big, hairy, audacious goal. WonderWorks was a big, hairy, audacious goal. I had a thing called the Google Law Firm. What would Google do was a law firm, was a big, hairy, audacious goal. I didn't like my software. And so I built a software called Litify that's now, we got like $40 million a year in recurring revenue from Litify. Lawyers all over the country are using it. So, but I recommend to you, Jessica, that you have 3 goals. It's hard to have a big, hairy, audacious goal too many times because you just can't do it. But 3 goals, write it down, put it in a piece of paper, and go to it throughout the year. And then ask yourself if you're gonna meet that goal or not. So,
John.
First, I don't think I've ever had a speaker at Rotary quote Mother Teresa and drop an F-bomb. You mentioned your brother and the issues, you were upset with Disney, and then you also said you work for Disney. What's your relationship with Disney now, and what advice would you give Disney these days?
Well, I love Disney. I was out there. What happened with Tim is he was a lifeguard. He was searching for a little girl they thought had drowned in the lagoon. He got up on a dock. He dove in. They had tied these something up with the table, these aqua larks, and he hit his head. And he's C6, C7 quadriplegic. Because it happened at work, the question was it going to be a liability case or was it going to be a workers' comp case? Unfortunately, it became a workers' comp case. He was a kid. He was a part-time worker. But Disney really fought him tooth and nail. If you go back to work, they don't have to pay you comp. So Disney, instead of settling with him, they said, well, we got a job for you. This is when I went postal, is when they said, we're gonna put you back to work. You can be an operator from 11 at night till 7 in the morning, and you're a C6, C7 quadriplegic. That was the moment that I knew what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I told everybody then, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back and get people like this. And by the way, he went out and did it. He went out and went and did that operator job, paralyzed. He's my hero in life. And so it was just a corporation wanting to win the comp case. They got all that money, and here's this guy who was, looking to save a little girl. And so what I would tell Disney and I tell insurance companies, when I tell everybody, is do the right thing. When you do the right thing and treat people right, it usually works out better for you. Believe me, Disney has paid dearly for screwing my brother.
Hey, great talk about vision makers and vision blockers. Question about how goes it to work alcoholism? Like once you are vision maker or you're a vision blocker, you have to be workaholic to do that, or you just comes by time?
If I do what?
Do you have to be a work alcoholic to be a
A
vision maker?
workaholic? I thought you said, John, are you an alcoholic? Yes, I am. Okay, let's get that one out of the way. Yes, I am. I'm John, and I'm an alcoholic. I thought this was a fucking AA meeting. Okay, came to the wrong place. You don't have to be a workaholic. I mean, here's what I say about work. If work is work, you are screwed. You got to do what you love. And you can call it being a workaholic or not. But if you love what you do, he works at Seminoles Day, he's a fundraiser at Seminoles Day. I can tell by looking at you and talking to you, you love what you do. When you love what you do, I guess you become a workaholic, because when you're going to do something that you love to do, it's not really work. So are you working? Yeah. But you're also having so much damn fun that it's not work. And so what I would tell y'all is do what you love. Because if you do what you love, it's not work. Then you have passion. Then you have purpose. Working 60, 70, 80 hours is like going, to a fun park for me.
One last question, please, and then we'll wrap up. Sorry about that. And you guys, John, can you stay a few minutes afterwards?
Yeah.
Just mingle around? Yeah, so feel free, but one last question, please.
John, what daily practices or rituals do you do consistently to keep focused on so many goals and so many businesses?
Well, what I do every night before I go to sleep is I don't count sheep. I spend a lot of time at the end with gratitude. I'll go through, like right after I turn my Kindle off, how I put myself to sleep is I start thinking about things that have happened to me and giving thanks for that. And then I start thinking about different people who've been good to me and helped me, and I pray for them. If I tell you I'm going to pray for you, I'm going to pray for you. Now, it may only be an Our Father or a Hail Mary, but I'm going to say that prayer. People, I want to say, I want to make sure if I told somebody I'm going to pray for them, I want to say that prayer. And other than that, I just, I return phone calls. And if I don't return them, I'll make sure they get returned by somebody. And because I tell people all the time, I'll say this to my PI friends and lawyers, and Steve Ball, we're Facebook friends. We don't see each other except on Facebook. We watch each other get gray over Facebook. But in the law business, we're in a contingency fee business. And I tell people all the time, look, just because we're in a contingency business doesn't mean these clients aren't important. And what I do in my business is every one of my clients I consider my boss. If a client calls me and they'll say, I'm so sorry to bother you, it's like, sir, do not apologize to me. You're my boss. You're calling me to tell me what to do. Never apologize to me. And so if you treat your clients like your boss because they are, you're going to do great.
Thank you. down at Hillstone, and he had another gentleman with him, and he was kind enough, he saw him on the Cleveland Browns, and we chatted for a few minutes, more than a few minutes. I said, John, would you be willing to come to our Rotary Club? And he looked at me and said, yeah, I think so. You know, get a hold of me when I get back. And I said, okay, where are you? He said, well, I'm in Maui the next 3 months or something. But you know what?
Now in the wintertime.
Yeah, but here's the bottom line, is that he did exactly what he said. He said, get a hold of me in April, and we'll book something. I went to Ms. Diaz, and you did exactly what you said. You say what you do and do what you say, which is important in life. So we're gonna pick a thing here, and hey, Tim, right up there, you might be lucky enough to win. Just look at the last numbers.